Hey everybody, it's Heather and Ernie back for another edition of Funhouse Fridays. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're so excited to have you along. And I am super excited about today's topic. So we're going to be talking about the Nashville number system. So if any of you out there are songwriters or you know a songwriter, please tune in. Share this with them, tell them to tune in, because Ernie is going to take you through how the Nashville number system works. So a lot of us are familiar with music. What?
Hopefully.
Oh, no. You will. A lot of us are familiar with music. Probably a lot of you have definitely seen sheet music. Whether you've played in church or you were in band in high school or college, you've seen a sheet of music that has the staffs with, look at me bringing back my music knowledge from college and high school, that has a staff with, different notes on it, like, B flat and A and whatever. Well, the thing that everybody loves about Nashville that makes the whole recording process so fascinating and so easy is the Nashville number system. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that. Ernie's going to show you how he takes a song from just a guitar vocal to an actual piece of music.
Chart it out.
Yes, chart it out. So that's going to be coming up today. So again, like, share, comment on this video. Send it right now to all your music friends and lovers. And
performing musicians, by the way.
Yes.
That helps a whole lot when you can take a numbers chart into the band if they know how to use it. It short circuits their ability to play, or not short circuits, but shortens the time of them learning a piece of music. Can be a very valuable tool there as well.
Yes. And if you have questions or comments during this broadcast, go ahead and send those to us. I have my iPad and my phone here again. I'm going to be constantly scrolling and looking for those. So we'd love to answer those now. If you're watching this later, go ahead and send the comments as well, and we'll answer those later for you. But first, before we get into the Nashville number system, we thought we'd just start out, since it's Friday and getting ready for Halloween next week, we thought we would talk a little bit about Nashville news. What's been happening in Music City this week? First and foremost, one of the things I think is most interesting is on Wednesday night at the Bridgestone Arena, Kenny Rogers had his farewell concert. I know, I'm super sad about that. But it was like a star-studded spectacular. So of course he had Dolly Parton, because everyone knows that those two are like one of the most iconic duet partnerships ever in the history of music. I mean, who doesn't know Islands in the Stream? Even if you're not a country music fan, you know the song Islands in the Stream. So of course he had Dolly there, but Little Big Town was there. The Judds were there, looking fantastic, I might add. Who else was there? It was the Gatlins were there, Lee Greenwood, like a who's who of Nashville came to kind of say, farewell to Kenny and his whole long career and everything. So, kind of a celebration, but also a little bittersweet that he's actually retiring. And then another cool thing that I was looking at billboards in Nashville this week and kind of reading about is Mike Huckabee. He, a lot of you know him as the former governor of Arkansas, also a former presidential candidate. And he has come to Nashville and is filming a show in Nashville. And he's kind of focusing it. It's a little bit, of course, going to be about politics and the world and worldly affairs, but he's really focusing in on Nashville and music. For those of you who don't know, Mike Huckabee is actually a bass player and a musician himself, and so he's really trying to kind of bring forth the whole Nashville music culture and music scene and having different guests. Like this past week, he had Tanya Tucker on. He's going to be having, I think, Kenny Rogers on coming up, and he actually plays with them. He plays bass behind them while they're on the show. So I think that's a really cool, fantastic thing.
He's a good bass player too.
Yes, it's actually taping in Hendersonville at the, I think, Trinity Broadcasting Network. That's located in Hendersonville, and they built this whole really awesome studio. Some of it almost kind of looks like the inside of the Ryman Auditorium. So I was looking at that online earlier this week, and it's really cool. And then one quick thing I wanted to mention too, back to the Kenny Rogers thing, is Ernie and his friend Clyde Phillips actually wrote a song for Kenny Rogers that he cut.
Very fortunate to have a cut on Kenny back in late 70s, I think around 79. The Love or Something Like It album, Clyde and I wrote a song on there called Buried Treasure. And we were excited to death, to be honest with you, to have that cut on Kenny Rogers back then. He was so hot, and to have that album cut was really cool.
Was that one of your first cuts?
Actually, yeah, I'd had a couple of other cuts, but nothing as big as Kenny at that point.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if you haven't heard Kenny Rogers do this song, Buried Treasure, look it up. because it is a fascinating song that Ernie and Clyde wrote. It has all the makings of a great country song. It's about love and cheating and murder, and it has this whole unique twist about this guy and his plow and where did he bury his cheating wife. So definitely check that out because it's a fantastic song. All right, so that's a little bit about Nashville and what's been going on, but let's get into today's topic. So again, if you've ever heard about the Nashville number system, you've ever wanted to know what it is, how it works, why is everybody crazy about it, we're going to explain it today.
Thank you. I want to give a little bit of history about the Nashville number system and how it actually came about. And I'll tie that into us here at Funhouse. We, like a lot of other studios and musicians, we understand how important it is to maximize the time you have in the studio. So the Nashville number system goes hand in hand with that, and that's exactly why it was developed. Years ago, when we first started recording in Nashville, a little before I was here, they were actually just writing chords down in the meter of the song. Like a 4-bar phrase might have a bar in A, a bar in D, a bar in E, and then another bar in A for the first 4-bar phrase. And what was happening was they would get into the studio, and the artist would suddenly say, well, you know, that's too low, I need to raise it, or that's too high, I need to drop it down. And the musicians would have to go back and write all those chords out, the actual name of the chord out to accommodate that change by the singer. And they noticed that the Jordanaires, particularly one of the vocal groups that sang on thousands of hit records here in Nashville, they were not actually having to do that because they had developed this little number system that they were using, assigning numbers to chords so that the key that the song was in was the 1 chord, and then any other subsequent chords in that song were assigned a number off of that bass chord. For instance, if they were in D, that's the 1 chord. You count up D, E, F, G, and that's the 4 chord. The 5 chord would be an A, and so forth on up the octave scale until you got back to 8, which is the octave, and that is the 1 chord you started in. So it's D, just an octave higher. So assigning those numbers to the chords gave them an opportunity to move quickly from one key to another because it didn't matter what key the song was in at that point. Everybody could play it quickly, transposed with the number system. We're going to get into today a little bit of how that works. It's adapted to the point now where they can write any song in a number, in a chord number sheet, and it's just a great tool.
It's just amazing. If you've ever, like I said, looked at sheet music, you know how kind of looking at it overwhelming it can be and trying to figure out how to play it. But when you look at a sheet that just has numbers on it, it's fascinating how that translates to a song. And that was the thing I was most intrigued by and loved when I started in the studio business, was that the first time I sat in on a session and Ernie had charted out the songs with the numbers and played a little bit of it for the musicians, and then they literally just took this number chart, went in, and played the whole song. It was incredible. And so for those of you that are thinking about recording and wanting to record, then this is definitely something that you don't want to come into the studio and chart your song once you get here.
Right. You want to save as much time as you can. In the pre-production we talked about last week and possibly the week before, that's where we write the number chart. We write that out. We assign all the numbers to the chords for the songs you picked. We will look at what the intro and the turnaround, the instrumental portion of the song is going to be, and then it becomes a number chart for that song. That's not to say it's in concrete, because we change as we move into the studio. Sometimes the musicians will offer a suggestion of an ending or an intro that's a little different than what we have, and I'll show you a chart that actually has been revised on the run, so to speak, as we're in the studio. But I think the first thing we need to do today is maybe just chart a song. I just went in and did a little vocal, guitar vocal of a song that everybody's probably familiar with. And it may not be the best example, but it'll certainly give you an idea of how this all kind of flows with a simple song like She Thinks I Still Care, a song that Dickie Lee wrote many, many years ago for George Jones, and it's been recorded by probably hundreds of other artists through the years. And some of them use different chords, actually. So I know Anne Murray changed it a little bit in her version. But basically, this was the way George did it. And we want to play that, and as it's playing, I'm going to chart it and show you what that looks like on paper. It's, like I said, a pretty simple song, but we're going to do that as you're watching, if that's okay. So go ahead and play the song.
I'm a maestro. Technical difficulties, hold on.
You said to play.
It says play. You sure it's in there?
Yeah, it was playing long ago.
All right, hold on just a second. Oh, I think we got it. There we go.
Just because I asked a friend about her, just because I spoke her name somewhere, just because I rang her number by mistake today, she thinks I still care. But if she's happy thinking I still need her, then let that silly notion bring her cheer. But how could she ever be so foolish? Where would she get such an idea? Just because I haunt the same old places, where the memory of her lingers everywhere. Just because I saw her, then went on to pieces. She thinks I still care. She thinks I still care.
Okay. While Holly's got the camera right here and we can go over it, what I was doing is I listened to the song, and yes, I do actually know the song, so I have a little bit of a upper hand there, but it really doesn't matter. On a simple song like that, you're writing 4-bar phrases and 4 beats to each measure. Each one has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as we were listening, just because I asked a friend about her, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and so forth and so on. So you got 4 beats to each measure, 4 bars to each phrase, and then this is the verse, this is the chorus, and I put V1 and V2 because it's possibly going to be a second chorus as well. And then this is the second verse, or just V2 is what I do. And then this is the tag. But the way I will write this, see, I left a place up here under the title. The song is actually in the key of D, but again, that doesn't matter because this number chart will transpose to any key. But if we're in D, then the 1, that's a D. Then you just count up. The 4 is E, F, G. D is 1, 2 is E, 3 is F, 4 is G. And then back to the 1, then the 5 is the A, just like I said, D, E, F, G, A, up the number scale. And then here I put a little 7 there because that's a 7th chord. A 1 bar of 1 bar of 1/7 leading to the 4 chord, which is the G in this instance with playing in D. And that's just a little added number that tells you that that's a 1 with a 7th chord or 7th note added to it to lead to that 4 chord. The chorus obviously different from the verse, and that it is 4s and then the 1s and 11:55. That's the way we talk in Nashville. We'll actually call out sometimes, especially at a live situation. We'll say, "Hey, we need an intro 11:55," and we know that we're going to play D for 2 bars and A for 2 bars. But in this instance right here, we would probably make an intro would probably be da na 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 da 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 da. That's typically what George had on his record. So it would either be piano, fiddle, steel, or whatever. And we would start. The drummer usually counts the song off in the studio, and like if there are 2 pickups, he would go 3, 4, 1, 2, dun dun dun, and the 1 is the downbeat of the first bar that everybody plays. There are pickup notes to that, but so the intro is 1, 5, 1, 1. That amount of bars leading into the first verse. So a real simplistic way that we do it, and then I go back after being encouraged by bass player Kevin Swine Grant, and I added these numbers as he does, and I'll show you how this helps. Just numbering each line so that when we get through tracking the song and say the steel guitar player wants to play the second section of the chorus again, he can just tell the engineer line 5 of the chorus and punch me in on bar 3. So our engineer knows to come in right there. That's where he's going to punch in. After the 2 bars of 4, he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 punch, and the equipment will turn on so that the steel guitar player can play whatever part he needs to play, and he'll tell the engineer when he wants out. Just give me those 2 bars. So at the end of those 2 bars, we punch him out. But that saves so much in a situation where if you just had it written out as verse, chorus, say for instance, or verse tag is in this case, if you said, like if it were another chorus, or we actually, sometimes what they'll do is put the brackets like that to repeat, and that works fine in some applications, but in this application, I like to write the whole song out because that way we have a number of lines that we can reference when we want to go back and punch in something. So that makes it a whole lot quicker and more efficient. And again, that's what we're after is efficiency in the studio. So this tells you a little bit about the simple number system, and we'll talk a little bit more about what a song looks like that's a little bit more intricate and involved. And if I can get Holly to show these, I just brought in a couple more things that we've done recently. I'm not going to share people's titles with you, but I don't mind showing you the number system. See, initially I wrote out the intro being 1, 4, and then this is a split bar. That means the 1 gets 2 beats, the 5, which in this song was in D, so this is a D, that's a G, then back to the 1 for 2 beats, and then an A for 2 beats, the 5, and then a 6 minor, which in this instance is, just count it up. D, 1, 2 is E, 3 is F, G is 4, 5 is A, 6 would be B minor. So in this instance, you've got a whole bar of 6 minor. I actually had 2 bars there of 6 minor, and we decided in the intro that we didn't need to wait that long, so we just dropped one of those and went to just from there directly into the 2 minor. Then another little application we have, first of all, let me say that the minor is notated with a minus sign. Sometimes people will just use a 6M, but I find it easier, and all the players that I use and work with are used to using the negative sign for a minor. So you got a 2 minor here. A 1 over a 3 means a bar of 1, but the bass player is going to play a 3 note against that, which is usually leading to a 4 or a 4 split 5 in this case. So 2 bars of 2 beats of 4, 2 beats of 5 before we get back to the 1. So those are other little applications that we use and ways we notate minor chords, split bars, and the amount of beats that each one of those gets. Let's look at another one and see if there's any difference, a little bit of difference in this one particularly. Like for instance right here on this diamond right here means a stop and hold it for 4 beats. In other words, it's not a quick stop, just stop, but it's a instead of a if that makes sense. So another little notation that we use with the number system in Nashville, here's another one right here, a 5 and a 5 sus, or S as it's called. That means a sustained chord. And the guys that play know what a sustained chord. So 5, 5S, 5, and then so you're playing 2 beats on one, 2 beats on the other, just as usual. Here's another one down here that we use as a split, again, where we have a 1 split 5 over 7. So the whole band is playing the 5 chord, but the bass player is playing the 7 chord, usually along with the piano player on the left hand, leading down to the 6 minor. So you're going 1 5 over 7 for 2 beats on the 1, 2 beats on the 5 over 7, and then 4 beats on the 6 minor. So those are some things, and then you'll notice here we changed the whole turnaround in this particular song to make it a little different because the musicians thought this would be a better chord progression for the instrumental, or turnaround as it's notated here. But again, you see all the numbers here going down the side. They don't mean anything chord-wise. That's just location spots for the engineer and the musicians to reference so that we can move quickly as we go into the and through the session, getting your song recorded. I hope we haven't given you too much information. It gets a little intricate, and we can certainly back up and in a future reference point on another one of these, we can slow it down a little bit if people are confused. I understand this, so but explaining it sometime is a little hard.
But the fantastic thing about the number system, as you saw when Ernie did it, is how quickly he did it. So it would take forever to literally sit here and write out notes and then put A, B flat, D. It would take forever to do that. But doing the number system makes it so quick and easy. And that's how the song process all begins, is that literally you'll come in with Ernie and just your guitar vocal on CD, and he'll listen to it and he'll chart it out for you. And then this becomes kind of sort of a roadmap for the musicians and the producer and the artist. And so they take it into the studio and have this to kind of guide from, and then, like Ernie said, add their own spin and creativity, and maybe decide to add an extra bar for a solo, or an extra bar for a turnaround, or whatever it might be. But this definitely gives like a roadmap to begin with.
That's exactly right.
And what were you going to say, Holly?
I'm going to ask a couple of questions for the beginner guitarist. So let's go back to the chart. Let me look at it. This one, yep.
Okay.
She thinks that's okay.
Or, no, I'm sorry. Let's go to this one.
Okay.
So if you're an acoustic guitar player and you're a beginner, when you see that 1 over 5/7, you would just play the 5. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
So you can disregard the bass notes. Basically.
Yeah, at this point you can, if you're a beginning guitar player. As you develop as a guitar player, the rhythm guitar player and the piano player will actually play that 5 note along with the 7 note along with the bass player, and to accent that and to make that a part of the song. But the basic chord that you're playing there is the 5, and the 7 is the bass player, is a passing chord for the bass player to lead into the 6 minor that's coming up. So you're kind of walking it down into that next chord.
So if you have a chart and you're playing it live, and this is in 4/4 time, you get 4 beats per the measure, and then if they're put together, they each get 2 beats.
That's correct.
And if
it has an underline on it, that means it's a split bar.
So
and it doesn't necessarily mean they're always split equally, 2 beats and 2 beats. It can be a 3 beat on one of those chords, typically the first one, and then a 1 quarter note on the last one. And we notate that with either a little quarter note sign above it or a check of some kind, something to alert the musician that, hey, there's only 3 beats, or there's 3 beats here and 1 there. Several different ways we do that, but yes. And one other thing came to me, I can't remember what it was right now, but those are all good questions, and making sure that you understand and that some of this is maybe a little more involved than the beginner guitar player typically would be. But if you play the top line, you're okay. And just like you said, Holly.
Well, like for just starting out, probably great older songs like She Thinks I Still Care that only have maybe 3 to 4 chords.
Right. The only place that there's a split bar on the example I wrote out today is this. The very tag, She Thinks I Still Care, and it goes to, in this case it was a D, so it goes to the G, and then the 3 minor, 2 minor, 1. So that's G, F sharp minor, E minor, 1. And you're putting 1 beat, you have 2 beats here. The reason I put circles or in parentheses, that means each one of these get a beat, and this one gets 2 beats. So this is a half note. These are actually quarter notes, to be musically correct. And then I put 3 dots down here, meaning this is going to be, She Thinks I Still Care, dum, dum, bum, dum, bum, 1, 2, 3 at the very end. And that fermata, or bird's eye, some people call it, just means you hold that last note until the band director or someone cuts you off, or it fades out. Sometimes the drummer will do a little something that lets you know that that's the end of the song. I wanted to back up, if I could, just for a second. We talked about the origination, or how this number chart and number system originated. Neil Matthews of the Jordanaires is the one that I heard that is given credit for the initial use of this. As vocalists, they were using it and had figured this out in a simplistic way. Charlie McCoy and several other Nashville musicians, veteran musicians, developed this further with all the notation of the minors, any chord that there is, there's a notation in the Nashville number system for it. Whether it be a major 7th, which is notated with a triangle next to the, like if this were a 1 major 7th, it would be right there, like just where it is for the minor or the 1/7. If it's a diminished chord, there's a little, like a degree sign above it. And there can be any number of ways to notate what each one of the different chords that are out there that people use can be notated with the number system. So it's just universal in its use, and such a great tool that we developed, that Nashville developed, and we all use so much.
And what a brilliant system, seriously. If you've never seen or been familiar with the number system and this is the first time you're seeing it, I'm sure you're like, wow, this is amazing. Because when you look at these numbers and think that they correlate back to notes is incredible. And then it just makes the whole process of recording and playing. I mean, this is not just something that is great to utilize in the studio, but if you're a touring musician or a touring artist, this is fantastic for your band because it just makes it so easy just to hand this chart to everyone and everyone's on the same page automatically. And it does give you so much flexibility and opportunity, as Ernie was saying. And when we do our segment with Rodney Engel, our engineer, coming up, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about this. But it's great for him to have this in front of him, and literally the musicians can say, hey, I need to go back to the 2nd bar of the chorus, you know, line 2 or whatever it might be, and everybody can look at that and instantly know where to go and pick right up. So it's so incredible to have that ability with this kind of number system.
Yeah, we're not writing out melodies necessarily, so we're really not writing out notes, but we're writing out the chord structure that goes with your melody, and whatever that is, that's what the number system is. And now you can write out melodies, and a lot of background vocalists, Rodney included, he's done it before, actually write out the actual notes to sing above the chord. I've seen musicians write out intro licks and whatnot, so it can be done. The number system is very adaptable in the octave, just across the octave scale. It's just amazing how simplistic it is, and yet how great of a tool it really is in making the recording process one that works. And I will say, it's not totally unique to Nashville. Other places are using it, but
it started here, right?
It started here, and it's been adapted here to where these guys feel very comfortable going into the studio with a song they've never heard, listening to a verse and a chorus, if that's all they need to hear, and usually it is, and playing that song, never missing a beat of what is written as far as the chord structure is concerned, the tempo that we set. We give them those things as we go in. And this could be for a waltz tune, a three-quarter song. It doesn't have to be just 4/4, of course. It can be 6/8. It can be 4/4. You even have some particular instances where you have 5-bar phrases that are added in. In other words, anything that's written or that people have done musically in songwriting can be put into a number form.
Well, and I think too, for like singers, it's great because sometimes if you're going to go live, like do a live performance, you may do it in a different key than when you recorded it. So it's so easy. If you're having a bad day, you can lower it. If you're having a great day, you can make it a little higher. You know,
That's correct.
It's really easy for the band to switch.
It's a super tool, and we're very blessed in Nashville to have it and to have adapted to it so that these musicians play so well. They're just incredibly talented in the innovation that they have, the creativity that they show, and what they come up with. It amazes me every time I go into the studio. From the first time I've ever been, which was many moons ago, as they say, until just a few days ago, the last session we had here at Funhouse. And we'll do our best to make sure you have all those tools available to you, the best musicians, the ones that love to create and will amaze you with their talent as well. And we'll do our best. Oh, one thing that we did want to mention, some people can't really play a guitar or an instrument, and they wonder, well, hey, I've got this song I wrote, and I'm able to sing it. Can we do anything with that? Well, it's not always that will adapt, because I'm not sure exactly what was in your mind when you were singing it, but in most instances, I can figure out the chords that you were singing to, and we can figure out, so the melody and the lyric is the song. The chords that go to it, sometimes there are more than one chord that'll fit a particular song melody that you have. So we'll try to find out what you're thinking and hearing in your mind when you wrote that song, and help you adapt that to a number chart that fits what you've
And that's how it would work. So instead of coming in and giving Ernie a CD or MP3 or something of you playing your guitar and singing your song, you would literally just sing your song for him live and just kind of sing it along with the melody, and then he would sit there and chart it out as you're singing it, and he's hearing the melody and phrasing that you're using.
And like I said, that's not 100%,
but it can be done.
But it can be done. It can be done, and it usually can be done. It's just a matter of whether you're metrically in line with normal music stuff, but it doesn't hurt anything to try. And if you send us your song, I'll do my best to find it and send back what I think you're possibly hearing. So don't let that stand in your way. If you've got a melody and a lyric that you believe in and you want to try to get something done with, let us know about it. We'll do our best to help you.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on some comments really quickly, because we do want to say thank you to everybody that's been tuning in and continuing to tune in and stay with us. And so many people have been liking our Facebook page and sharing and commenting and sending us emails and comments and questions, and we so appreciate that. And a lot of people today are saying, you know, this is great stuff. This is so helpful. Thank you so much for sharing this. You know, I've always wondered about the Nashville number system. Thanks for explaining it.
And they may still wonder, but we'll do our best to clear those wonders up.
And we may do another segment on this in the future where we actually take an original song and kind of see how that whole process works. So, and then I wanted to read a couple of comments that we've received that I just thought were really fantastic, and we appreciate, because it lets us know that we're doing what we're supposed to do and that we are bringing you information that's valuable and helpful, and that's what our intention is with this Funhouse Fridays. So thank you, Danny. Did you say Borgers?
Borgers.
He sent a comment that says, as someone familiar with the Nashville recording scene through playing on countless indie projects to producing major label acts, this video was refreshing to see. I don't spend a lot of time or comment much on Facebook, but I wanted to say it's admirable that you share budget specifics with your clients. It's good to see in a music hub where artists from out of town and unfamiliar with who to trust in Nashville can get burned. And as long as I've known you, you've always been a super nice person. So thank you so much, Danny. That's exactly what we were, trying to do last week by being completely transparent with the cost of recording and how much you should be paying. So thank you for that. And then one other one. Now if I can find it. Technology. It's amazing. Let's see.
We certainly appreciate the comments like that, Danny, and others that have also commented, whether it be short or long, in the amount of time you put into what you write. We just appreciate everybody listening and watching, and hopefully we are giving you information that will be helpful, whether you ever record at Funhouse or not. We want you to come here, certainly, and that's one reason we're doing this, but it's not the only reason. It's also to share information that we think everyone should have access to.
Absolutely. And then Samuel Chestnut sent a comment the other day that said, 20 plus years ago, I had a veteran music publisher and music businessman in my office. Several at the table asked about Nashville and some of its stars. His comments were brief or negative. Then I asked if he knew you, he's speaking of Ernie, and he said you were one person whose handshake counted and that your reputation was unsurpassed in Nashville. We never forget comments on a man's reputation. They are invariably accurate. So just wanted to share that from Sam. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Sam.
Those words could not be truer about Ernie. That's one reason that my sister and I are so thankful for Ernie and his honesty, because it's really been invaluable to us in this business and in this industry. And then John Eben says, good stuff, Ernie. So he loved the thing today. Jim B. Martin said, don't let Tony Tolliver write the chart. There won't be a solid one on it anywhere. Thanks, Jim. Jim's a great songwriter.
Little inside there, but I understand totally, Jim.
That's funny. Fantastic. And then, hey, Carrie from Texas, thanks for always tuning in. John of Ford says this is so helpful.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. But thank you all so much. Again, we hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, comment on this video. If you have an artist or songwriter or musician in your life, send this their way. I'm sure they would love watching this and learning about the Nashville Number System. And again, just thank you so much for everything and for tuning in, and have a safe and happy Halloween. It's coming up Tuesday.
Yes.
And we'll see you again next Friday.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.